I'm not going to stop growing. And if you don't get with it with me, there's no way that we as two souls can stay together.
You really have to deal with the root of the issue, which is like, how do you heal yourself so that you can have these powerful conversations and not be so reactive both on the male and the female side of things?
Couldn't see you because I couldn't see myself.
Well, if you guys are watching this podcast, Garrett and I have been married for 21 years. We have 5 kids, multiple businesses. We're recently getting ready to move from Orange County, California to Miami. And people are like, why?
Great question. Hurricanes. We love hurricanes.
We just love them.
We like to dance in them. We like to dance in hurricanes.
They look fun.
We like to make love in hurricanes.
I mean, there's nothing not to like about a hurricane.
Who doesn't want to make love while being in a hurricane? Which has pretty much been our marriage for 21 years. One giant fucking hurricane.
Oh, not all the time, but...
Well, hurricanes don't happen all the time. They're just in
every
Florida.
Once in a while. But what happens?
Well,
you
like
rebuild and repair.
Build and repair. We've had like 4 hurricanes at the time we're recording. It's like there's a hurricane about to hit Miami.
Yeah, there is actually.
Right now.
Yeah.
All our friends in Miami are like, good thing you guys had that for a few days before it hit.
Yeah. So let's debrief them. We went to.
So let's back up to how we decided.
Let's back up to the original story.
How did we decide to move to Miami?
I don't remember. Okay. I'll tell you what I remember. I remember like I've had this feeling like I really love Miami for like the past, like since we started going there a few years back.
2.5 years ago.
Because we got invited to some of Grant and Elena Cardone's events and just like a small intimate group. But it wasn't even about the event. It was the energy of the city. And I was just like, oh my gosh, where I thought we had like made it all and done it all. And like, we, have this beautiful home in Orange County and we were like, we did it. Mm-hmm. We reached the impossible. And going to Miami, even though it was a couple of years ago, I remember being in rooms with people that are like, yeah, I made $100,000 in the last hour. I'm like, in the last hour? Like, It was just kind of cool to be, I felt like just when you thought you'd made it, you're like, oh, I'm like the dummy in the back of the room. So for me,
you actually leaned over to me and said, I think I'm the brokest bitch in this room.
Yeah, I'm confident that I would still be the brokest bitch in the room. And that's why I need to move there. So I'm not the brokest bitch in the room. But no, I think it was other than that. It was just like, oh my gosh, there's so much more available that we can have access to. And it's not even about like the money. Yeah, the money is a part of it. And everybody should pursue success at some level because that's how you have more impact. But it was just like, I love this. But I had told myself, like, I'm like, no, you need to be, you're good. You just got your dream house. Like we'd only lived in that house for like 2 years. And it was just like, no, like even I've talked about like having a second home there maybe eventually. But really I was like, no, like you hit your checkbox. You need to stay here and this is what you do. But the last like couple years, it felt like I was almost like going into like a little bit of a depression. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. It was like I almost kind of pumped the brakes on my companies and I just was kind of like persevering. And I didn't want to even admit like I have this beautiful house and these beautiful children and like very fit and it looks like I have it all. And so it was almost like I didn't want to admit to myself that I wanted more. It wasn't even that I really necessarily cared what other people thought about me. It was like, no, you can't admit that you want more because you have all these things. You're not allowed to want more. And so anyways, how it happened is I don't know exactly what I said to you. Do you remember what I said? I know what Coastal Kitchen.
Let's come back on a couple things. So we had addressed the idea of moving to Miami 2 years ago,
right? And
had looked at some partnership stuff with 10X and some different things, and you looked at me like you're not ready, and it was true I wasn't ready.
Oh, I do remember that.
And we were driving back to the hotel, and you're like, you're not doing any deals, you're not doing anything, you are not ready. You're not ready. The companies aren't ready. We're not ready, and we would find out quickly that was the case because the incident crowbar of 2022 or 2023 moment, which has been better reframed for us from the crowbar moment to Danielle's soul saying, I'm not going to stop growing. And if you don't get with it with me, there's no way that we as two souls can stay together. And that's the nice way of saying, I didn't want to be with you if we're going to continue on this path.
Well, it was a weird year because like you were so stressed with work. This house put an immense amount of pressure on us. Because we didn't double our lifestyle, we tripled it. And I had just had Charlie. Mm-hmm. And so and you kept hiring more help. And we were like flying private that year. And I felt like I was like suffocating. It was the weirdest thing. So I'm like sitting there and I'm just feeling like we didn't prepare to up the lifestyle. And so it just felt like it was in a whirlwind, but not in like a good way.
Yeah.
And then you started, and I can share this because you've talked about it a lot. You started sedating a lot on these feel-free things.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has their form of sedation. I don't care if you drink, whatever. Your sedation could be food. Your sedation could be working out. But everybody has a form of some kind of sedation, and it can be positive until it's negative. So it was just, I felt like we were on this whirlwind of flying private and doing all these things. And I just was like, I felt sad for you, and I felt like I needed to be here and be supportive. But the truth was, like, I couldn't feel you because those numb you out. And I didn't say anything. I mean, I did, but I didn't because I was just like, I gotta just like be supportive. But at the same time, I literally was like, I can't feel you. I can't connect to you. And I was just at this point where the crowbar incident, it was basically like, I came to Garrett and I was like, it was about almost 2 years ago
March 2023.
And it was like January. It was January.
I think it was right after I came back from my tattoos.
But I came to Garrett and I was just like, I'm much better with my communication now, but I was basically like, I cannot be in this relationship if I can't feel you. I will take all the cars, take all the house, take all this. Like, I am like depressed and I don't care. And I want to be able to build something with you, but I've got to be able to feel you. And so when there's that lack of chemistry, you're just like in this, and I felt like I was like, I'm a stellar catch. Like I'm a good catch. And so it wasn't even like, you kind of took it very threatened. Like you were just like, how dare her? I'm Garrett J. White. I'm wake up warrior. And like, we had a lot of arguments and collisions but I didn't know. I was just like, I can't stay in this space anymore. I refuse to be with a man who like doesn't want it, who like I can't connect with. That's the only thing I can describe it by. Mm-hmm. And I get like everybody sedates. I drink. And the only comparison I could give you is I'm like, yeah, but I'm not like drunk all day every day. Mm-hmm. I'm not even against the feel freeze. I was like, I just think like you shouldn't have them at 4 a.m. when you wake up and keep that pace all day long. Because then you're constant in a state of numbness.
Well, I'm an addict.
I know.
And like that addiction, the challenge of being an addict is the fact that like this, I'm addicted to life. I'm addicted to everything. I'm addicted to you. I'm addicted to money. I'm addicted to like creating. I'm addicted to building businesses, addicted to create big, whatever it is, I'm like all in. So things tend to go a little far in business. I've been spending years trying to figure out how to find neutral, which is how to go to extremes on both sides, but always come back to this grounded neutral. And I've studied it forever and ever and ever and ever. And I was getting better and better and better. The interesting part about that season, though, was that the Feel Freeze did something for me in life that was interesting because it allowed me for the first time to be very neutral to things. Like I wasn't reactive like I wasn't reactive to my teams. I wasn't reactive to my wife. I wasn't reactive to the kids. I was able to sit in this neutral place, and it actually accelerated the businesses in some ways because it allowed my teams to finally have a voice and to rise and have an opinion. Prior to that, I would think I was really operating as a dictator. And a lot of how I ran things, which is like my way, that's it, get the fuck out. And that got us where we were, but it wasn't going to get us further. And so Danielle coming and colliding with me, like I wouldn't have heard it any other way. So
there was a piece. Yeah,
it was fucking rough. I mean, it wasn't like soft conversation and therapy. It was, you're going to fucking lose me. I mean, I'm getting texted the message, if the king doesn't rise, the kingdom dies, which is my statement. We've been saying that for like 9 years. Mm-hmm. But then she put her little asterisk on it, and don't worry, the queen leaves with the children before the kingdom burns. And I'm like, holy fuck. Like, it was like so intense to hear this shit like every day for like 3 months. So it put me on my heels. Like I was even having a hard time using my own tools to stack because I was just so emotionally lost. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And then I had to ground myself every day to go lead my companies, lead my clients, lead my teams. And then I would come home to a war zone with you and emotion, which you hadn't expressed emotion in like decades.
I think what I realized when you were on the feel free phase is for the first time in our marriage, you have very high-low energy and you're very reactive. And for me and a lot of women, I can speak for a lot of women on this, when they're married to powerful, very reactive men, they tend to close down and shield themselves instead of, or then they come back and fight and it becomes this explosive like thing. And then they're just like, never mind, I just will continue to shut down because then at least it's not a big explosion. So it becomes this cycle in a lot of relationships. And so for me, I think a piece of me liked when you were on Feel Free because you weren't as reactive.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is better. I like this. He's like, just go with the flow, do your date nights. And so that's what was so hard for me is I was just like, okay, I'll take on the reactivity. I thought I wanted Mr. Non-reactive only to find out like, at least when you're reactive, I had moments where I could still feel you and connect with you. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. And so I had gotten to this place again where telling myself like, that's what I thought I wanted, was somebody that's non-reactive to me. But what I really needed to work on, and I realized this in myself, is I took all this like emotional bandwidth and just went, blah, I dumped it on you over 3 months because I was withholding my communication. And so now realizing that about myself, I'm like, okay, if I'm hurting, if I'm in pain, if I'm not, I have to be good at not worrying about, oh no, I'm going to spark another fight. But how do I reframe it to where I can have conversations with you where we can actually have a conversation and not an argument? And in my head, I told myself that every conversation would lead to an argument, so I just wouldn't share.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was filled with a whole lot of reactive triggers that were not healed in me. And so anytime that it would come across as, even if we had tried to have conversation, we couldn't really have conversations because I would get so reactive over everything you said. And then it would lead to us fighting, which would lead to us disconnecting even more. So we kind of got to this place where we were having conversation and dialogue. And the wild part is that you had told me, you had wanted so many things over the years. Get the house, give me jewelry, take me on trips, let's go on date nights. And the wild part people don't get is that we were going on week-long trips. We were going on date nights twice a week. We were doing the things like we were going. I was working a fucking ton. And the stress of the leveling up of the game was stressful on me. And this is the hard part because like guys, any guy who's building a business that's big and then he makes a run. And you have two ways to make a run. One, you can make a run where the business makes a run and then you up-level a life, or you up-level life at the same time as you're making a run at the business. And we did both. So we like tripled our lifestyle, moved into this amazing house. And as a husband and a provider, it puts you into this place where you don't understand, like when a guy goes to war to provide for his family, like there's not even really a thought of, I want to fuck. There's not a thought of like, you actually have to compartmentalize your wife and children. You compartmentalize your whole life and you put it into this box on the right side. And it just sits in this box and then you go to war. And from the time you wake up, throughout the night, you're waking up anxious about it. Throughout the whole day, you're fucking hunting. Meanwhile, shit's like problematic at home and building and you're trying to do it. And so I was trying the best I could at that time to try to juggle both. You were having chaos in your own companies. It wasn't being handled. That chaos was spilling into my companies. And I'm trying to manage all of this energy while trying to be present as a father to all these 2 baby girls, our teenage daughters that are going through all kinds of bullshit, my son who's trying to figure himself out, my wife who all of a sudden has decided she has an opinion about life and now wants to vomit it on me for 3 straight months. And I'm trying to maintain the lifestyle, the businesses, try to help you feel heard and seen, deal with my own reactivity, manage crazy teenage daughters, manage 2 toddlers who are fucking running around 24/7, waking up all night, managing a dog that dies in our pool while we get another dog, while still trying to grow the business, hold my vision, and not lose my fucking mind. So amidst this, the pattern that guys get into is like, it's a no-win proposition in so many instances, and it's all the guys that come to Warrior 2, which is like, how do you build while maintaining the game? And the only thing that can exist that has allowed us now over the last almost 2 years to bring this place to a place of harmony and power and connection is radical honesty. And I've been speaking truth for a long time, but there's levels of truth. And Danielle flat out lied for 2 decades.
I hate when you say that though.
When you withhold information, it's lying.
Yeah, but I don't like how you frame it.
You couldn't share it. You couldn't share it with me in truth because, and I'm not saying
but
that
part of me, like I didn't even know what my truth was. Like I said, like I'm like thinking like, hey, don't say anything because you've got the cars and the house and the family and the fitness and the successful businesses. And I'm like, so don't say anything. It wasn't that I was lying. I was just like, I don't want to upset you. Like I could see that you're out there working hard. So why would I bring more drama with my drama? And a lot of women feel that way. They're like, I don't want to burden my man. So when you say it like that, you are a flat out liar for 2 decades. I want you to know that it's kind of like hurtful. And I would reframe how you say that because it wasn't that my
dishonest?
intention. It wasn't that I was
whether
dishonest.
It was an intention
it
or
was
not,
like
it's
I was
what happened.
withholding my feelings because I thought it was going to protect you.
Right. You lied.
And so I was trying to, I know, but it bugs me when you say
lied.
it that way.
I mean, when I withhold truth, that's lying.
But I didn't realize I was withholding anything.
I'm not saying
I was
that
just
you
like,
were
I don't want
consciously doing it.
I was,
saying you did
I was
on
just like, I don't want to like burden him like with any of this.
Yeah, so women lie. They don't speak their truth. And it's a lie. It's not like, and we can look at the trigger around the word lie, but it's an actual lie. Because if you withhold your truth from me, how am I supposed to know? If I withhold my truth from you, how are you supposed to know? And both of us were withholding truth. Both of us.
I think,
and every time that we've had a massive breakthrough and up level in our life, which we have in the last 18 months, and the last 9 months, we've been on a rocket ship.
But what if you don't know what your truth is? Because there's been times it's like, you don't know what you want. You'll tell me, you're like, I want more text words of validation. And I'm like, that's not actually what you want. You don't know. Sometimes we don't know how to communicate what we want.
Right.
So although I can appreciate that, it wasn't, I was literally like, when we were first, like 7 years ago, and you're like, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe like pretend like you care about buying me shit. Because before that, it was just like I'd go shopping and literally your butthole would pucker. And I was like, are you okay? Because I'm going to buy myself a pair of shoes.
And I shifted.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So like, when back then, this is a while ago, you were like, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know. I want to be able to, like, if we're out at the mall, that you don't like you don't feel weird about if I want to buy myself a pair of shoes, or that you're actually like, here, babe, let me get that for you, or whatever. Anyways, I didn't know that's not really what I wanted either. I didn't really care if you bought me shoes, you know? So I think it's like a lot, you can call it a lie, but I think men and women are not, you're like, what are your needs and wants? And so you're, as a human, just trying to describe the best you can what you think your needs or wants are. And then you realize, wait, actually, that's not what I was looking for. Here is what I'm looking for. So it's almost like discovering what your wants and needs are, not necessarily like lying. It's like you're literally discovering what your wants and needs are. But also too, I feel like because you and I have been married for so long, like we've almost like raised each other and we've grown up together. Like I've been with you half of my life. Yep. And so there's just so many, there's just can be a lot of triggers when you, especially being married so young and you have no idea how to communicate. Now all of a sudden, you know, you're older and you know how to communicate, but you still have those past triggers of like 10 years of fuck ups because you didn't know how to communicate to your partner. Yeah. And so it's like, I think that's where people give up in marriage, is because there's so many scars that they're just like, they can't see past the scars. But here's the real kicker. You'll take those scars that you had with somebody else and you'll just recreate them and project your own scars on that new partner. We see it with couples we know. So you really have to deal with the root of the issue, which is like, how do you heal yourself so that you can have these powerful conversations and not be so reactive both on the male and the female side of things? Agreed.
So if you look at the checklist, what happened, you kept giving me lists and I kept shooting them off the list. I gave you lists. You were sure, except for the texting, that one you just resisted till the end of time. But the rest, for whatever reason, you've just decided that's your hill to die on. No, I will not send you love texts. I'm like, okay. So that, for whatever reason, you have decided in your mind that is just not acceptable behavior. I'm like, okay. Which I can never understand, because you'd spend 3 hours on your phone doing Instagram posts and messaging everybody under the sun and sending 400 boxes, but you couldn't send me a text. So to me, that was confusing, because you asked for me to shift with shopping, and I did. I not only shifted, I went the other direction. I became your pusher. I've shifted with the house. You said, give me the house. I got the house. You said, get the cars, take me on trips, take me on date nights, take me on overnights. We did all the things. And we got to the end of the checklist, all the things. And here you are, fit as hell, looking amazing, getting tons of attention, which you should, because you're a fucking amazing woman. And at the end of the low road of your checklist and the end of mine, outside of text messaging, because you're going to die on that hill, outside of that one, you were doing all mine too. I came to you in 2016. And I said, if sex doesn't change, I'm out of here. Like, we're not going to play this game anymore. Either fucking get yourself figured out sexually, or we're not going to play. Like, this isn't going to work. So I came at you, you came at me, and we've done this back and forth and back and forth. And right now we've just figured out finally, over all this work, how to do it in a way that doesn't come across as fuck you. It comes across as, I'm hurting. Here's what I need. You're like, I'm hurting. Here's what I need. And it's taken us 23 years to get here.
I think we're still working on it, but
of course we are. We'll never stop working on it.
I think what's encouraging to other couples that might be listening to this show is like, marriage is a lot of work, and it's not always like a fairy tale, but it's like, we kind of got to this space this last year, I feel like, that we were like, hey, like, you're my partner. And I think the big shift came for me when I was like, and this ties back to like why we moved to Miami, is I was at this place, even though I was like, I'll lose the cars and the house and this and that. And I was like, okay, well, we obviously were in a good space. And it was like, the question came to me, would you still let the house go? And I was like, yeah, I would. And it was almost like, because I saw how stressful it was on you. And I just was like, is it the house? Is it the lifestyle? What is it? And I just knew we needed to move on. And so in a way, I know that you would keep pushing and grinding and doing whatever you wanted to like make me happy. And so in a way, it was like my turn to push and be like, we need to let this chapter go to get to the next chapter. And I think me and being like, because I was like, that's my dream house and I manifested that house. And like, it was like very much like a piece of like my identity. It was like you didn't want to let it go either, but both of us felt like we were supposed to move on.
Well, the crazy part is people hear this and like, okay, you guys must be in financial trouble, which we're not. The issue, like, this was not a game of like maintain. It was like there was a desire in us for a reset, and
Well, we had to. I knew it was. I knew it wasn't the house. I knew it was like, Danielle, you've got to let go of the house. You need to physically get yourself in a new environment. You tell this to your guys all the time. You're like, hey, Idaho, you're not going to figure it out there. Like, or hey, Wisconsin, like you need to actually physically take your family and be in a different environment where there's more energy to push you. And I believe that. And so it was like, okay, like this is a beautiful home. Orange County is amazing. But every time I would visit Miami, I'm like, there is something here. This energy will elevate us.
Yep.
And so it was like, okay, let it go. And I, in a way of me not letting go of our home, I felt like I was holding you back on even what your potential could be. And so I was like, okay, like we were at dinner one night and I don't even remember how I casually brought it up, but I must have been so intense because you were like, I'll put it up tomorrow.
Well, we were like super connected and we were on a date night at Coastal Kitchen and we were like super connected that night. We're sitting at the bar.
Why were we so connected? I don't
even know.
remember.
It wasn't even sexual. We were just like, we were super soul connected. And we're sitting there at the bar and you look at me and you do the trance eyes where you're like plugged in deeply to your soul. And you look at me and you go, hey, let me sell the house and move to Miami. And within 30 seconds, I was texting our realtor the next day. They were there. From that singular decision.
But I don't remember there even being a conversation. I remember we were just like literally.
You said we're doing it. I texted a realtor. He came over the next day.
I wasn't like, what do you think about moving to Miami? I remember like looking at you dead in the eyes and I'm like, hey.
We're going to sell the house. We're going to pack everything up and go. And if you look at the last 2 months since we made that decision, the first person that comes and looks at our home, cash off. The first home we look at is not even remotely close to downgrade. I think it's actually more. House is like 27 million in Miami. Right across the street from the Cardones. Like this, like our move wasn't like a down move. It was a move to a new environment, a new energy and a new vibration for us. And the minute we let go, we let go of the salon, we let go of the academy, I let go of team members, we hired new people.
But what's weird, even in the purging process, doesn't it feel good?
It's felt a huge relief.
It's like,
and it wasn't about all these things. It was about our souls were trapped in a pattern and a routine in this environment that we could not get out of without a radical shift in trajectory.
Right.
And that requires a radical shift in energy. And so we get in this momentum train the last like 2 months that has been mind bending.
Yeah. I think women, like, I do believe that women are called to lead in this way. And I always say, women, you are called to lead and to guide. And I think that goes for leading and guiding your man. So even if he's the main producer, or you're not making money at all, that doesn't mean that you cannot lead and guide your husband. So for me, I've learned this over the years that when I listen to that and I'm like, okay, Danielle, it's your turn. That's when huge opportunities open up. So now it's not hard when I know it's like, hey, I have to share from you from this place of knowing how I'm feeling. And every time I do that, you trust it. You're like, okay. And you can always tell when my anxiety is high and it's not true. And you're like, is that true? Yeah. But when I have those like confirmations in myself where I'm like, this is where we need to go. I love that you trust me. You're like, okay, I feel it. Let's go. And so then it makes me feel more empowered to share things like this with you, where it's like, hey, I'm feeling like we need to go this way, or I'm having a weird feeling about this person that you're working with or whatever. Because either you accept it or you don't. At least I feel like I'm almost like your guardian in a way. And so I'm like guarding the empire. I'm guarding the home. I'm guarding the family. And so I've been better about speaking my truths in that way because I look at it as I'm protecting the family.
I mean, I don't think people recognize the amount of work that we do. Like this isn't like when we take stuff on and we're going after it, like, and there's a shift in us and we know things have to shift. We war. And it's not like we're warring now less than ever because we've had such massive breakthroughs in the last year that have allowed us to sit into this place of harmony. My reactivity has gone down 60%, 70% from what it was. Danielle's ability to communicate and articulate what she's feeling is going through the roof. So there's these two things. I'm like, reactivity is going down and her communication is going up. And inside of that down and up, that's put us at the same plane that's allowing us to collaborate and create in a way and at a speed that's not competitive for the first time, and a place that's not filled with personal attacks, and it's filled with a lot more collaborative, like soul level spiritual creation, where our visions are starting to line up into the same vortex. And what that vortex has opened up in just the last 2 months, we have more deals, more opportunities, more business, more fun, more joy than we've had in the previous couple of years.
I think too, though, you and I have been so focused on repairing our marriage and rebuilding like businesses that I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for people watching.
Yep.
And so the beginning of this year, I was like, what should I do? Like, I'm feeling like I'm in a standstill with my businesses. I'm just kind of stagnant in a lot of areas. And I'm like, what do I need to do? And it was like, you need to be open and available and let people see your light. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what does that mean? Because I think I am like naturally like a little more quiet, but when people get to know me, like I love connecting with people. And so I was like, okay, so I just need to put myself out there more. I'm like, what does that mean? And so that's when I was like, well, I'll transform my podcast and see what's going to happen. But even just you being more open and me being more open and actually reaching out and networking to people and just being like, hey, like I'm kind of at this place where I'm like, if it's not timing and they say no, I don't fucking care. Like I'm at this point where I'm like, let's reach out to everybody. Like, let's see what doors open. And the ones that open up right now are perfect. And they'll open another one. And then maybe we'll circle back to another door that was a no. And now all of a sudden is a yes. So I'm kind of in this season of yes, because it's like, I think that we do have a lot to offer people, and we do need to share more of our light. Not that we're not, but we've kept it kind of locked down on our communities. And we think our communities are big, but they're really not that big on the grand scope of things. They could be way bigger. And then it sounds weird, but I feel like people I feel like it could be like just a sense I'm feeling, but it's almost like people have been waiting. They're like, oh, the lights are out.
Yeah, I feel like we've come out of the closet.
I'm like,
it's like we're like actually showing up to parties, and we're actually going out with people, and we're inviting people in our home.
It's almost like
homes.
I get the sense that people were like, we've been waiting. I'm like, thanks, guys.
That's been my experience the last like 2 months for sure. Like every partnership deal I'm working into right now, they're like, we've been watching like 6, 7, 8 years.
Exactly.
we're super glad to be here with you and participate and create these things together.
I think forever we've both been in this mindset of like, we don't need help. We're gonna fucking grind and do this on ourselves. We both do that.
Yeah.
And we haven't thought of this game of big collaboration. And the crazy thing is like even some of the like bigger names we've reached out to, what's fun is like they're like, oh, they're like excited to help. And I think we were trying to pretend like we were in this like this I mean, we're at a real big level in a lot of areas in our life, but it was almost like fear of rejection. Like, oh my God, what if like, you know what I mean? And so we wouldn't put ourselves out there in fear of rejection. And it's crazy to think that when he's Wake Up Warrior and I'm the hair extension queen, that even us at where we're at, that it's like, oh, I don't want to reach out to them. Like everybody still has that fear of rejection. But I've kind of, like I said, this past year, I've just been like, fuck it. What do I have to lose? I'm like, I'm just going to keep saying yes. I'm going to keep putting myself out there. I'm going to lean in. I told Garrett, I said, we need to lean in this year. I'm like, there's so many people who want to help us and we can help them. And if we grow, we have a bigger impact in both of our companies.
Well, it's been happening. Like we're growing right now at a rate that, like I can say, it's mind bending. Like week to week, the amount of stuff that's going on in a 7-day time period is like I rewind a week at time and it feels like 6 months.
Yeah, you're like, wait, that was just last week.
Yeah, and the number of people and the number of decisions and the number of like expansion things, and God just keeps like opening doors. It's like we opened up a domino with the selling of this house and choosing to move to Miami, and that domino has started knocking dominoes down, almost like these dominoes have been prepared for the last decade, waiting for this moment. And then once we said go, all in, no questions asked, people are like, why are you moving? It's like God told us to go.
I also, too, have been trying to be really, it sounds dumb, but like, you know how you get like a little prompt? If you're busy or something, you're like, whatever.
Text that person.
Literally every time I've gotten a prompt, I'm like, what do I have to lose? And I will stop what I'm doing. I pulled over on the side of the freeway to text somebody the other day. I was like, I need to text them, and I'm not going to tell you to do it twice. I was like, no need. And so sometimes, actually almost every time I've done that, I've gotten a response back, like almost immediately. And I was like, did I just ping them with my energy? And so that's why I had to send the text right now, because they can already feel that I'm on their vibration. Don't you think that's freaky? When you're like thinking about somebody and then they get a text, I'm like, wait, were they just thinking about me and they pinged me? So I knew to text them right then? I don't know. It's magic.
Well, I know that the text you're talking about led to another text, which then led to an incredible new relationship in a deep level that's led to like 19 other texts to other people with us that has my phone completely blown up.
Yeah.
So I put my phone down for 30 minutes and I come back and there's like 50 new texts from people.
I'm in a season where like try this, like seriously, like be receptive to like that and like just whoever you think it is. So I've been testing it. I've
been doing it. We've been doing it. We had a couple other deals that are going to go down now today because of it.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a piece in all of us too. Like, again, I'm going to come back to the work. Like I do work on myself every single day. Like I spend 3-4 hours every single morning working on building and breaking through. Like I joke around with the fact that like we're getting involved in some amazing programs right now. And there's the amount of work I've had to do, as weird as it sounds, the amount of work I've had to do to get to the level my wife has already been is incredible. It's like one thing, 700 things. And I've always had this sense that like my wife has been on this like spiritual vibrational plane that I've not been at, which I think was probably some of the part where I felt threatened over the years, because it was like you had a knowing about life that I had to work for 6 months to even come to figure it out. I was irritated. I was irritated because I was like, I can read all these books, go to these workshops, hire these coaches, get with these mentors, go to these masterminds, and come to a place that my wife already knows. And she didn't read anything.
It's not true.
It's not that you don't read. I'm just saying like you do now in the last like year and a half, 2 years.
I listen to audiobooks almost every morning.
But there was like a process for years where like even back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you just always had a knowing that was like different than mine. I had an intuition to things, but you had a knowing of things that was just very different than what I had. And it was very frustrating to me because I was like, how does she know this shit? And so there was a threat for me for sure. Like, because I was like, I'm doing all this fucking work and you're not doing any work. At least that's my story. My story was she's not doing any work. It's just her work. I mean, it was even like psychedelics. Like I got into psychedelics for 3 years. I'm done with them now for now.
I know you were such a pusher on those.
Well, because anything that's working for me.
But I think it's because you discovered something, so you wanted me to like. You're like, oh my god, I saw this and this, and I'm like, why do you assume I haven't already seen that?
Yeah.
I remember you'd come home and like tell me these like crazy dreams and these vivid impressions you had, and I was like, yeah, I was like, that makes sense. I'm like, I still have no desire to do any drugs. It doesn't call to me. It doesn't. I'm not even curious about it. Like people are like, don't you want it? Because like that's a big thing right now. Like everybody I know is like, oh, if you try and I'm like, no, and I won't be pressured into it. I just don't care.
Well, again, everybody has different tools to get them to where they are. And you just had an ability to get to where you are with different tools. And the tools were natural and intuitive to you. Like they were not natural and intuitive to me. So like going and trying to learn them was like my process to figure it out.
Yeah.
And if it takes me reading 10 books and going to 3 workshops so I can figure something out that you already know, well, that's the good thing is you're married to a guy that'll fucking do it.
But you know what though? Like you push me to like do the work. I think even though somebody can be like, oh, I'm naturally intuitive, you can also have an ego about that and be like, I don't need to study and read and do all those things. I just know it. And I think that's like the difference of like an athlete who's like naturally really good and an athlete that's like subpar but puts the work into it, right?
And you've been putting in an incredible amount of work the last 2 years. I mean, you've put an incredible amount of work your whole life, but the last 18 months have been, I mean, I just think back to where we were at the beginning of 2023. And I look at where we are closing up 2024. And like the comparison between those two couples, the couple at the beginning of 2023 and the couple at the end of 2024 is so unrecognizable.
I just see the couple on the boat with this guy. Hey.
Yeah. Was even like bodybuilding. I mean, I'm 35 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
It's completely changed my frame on myself.
I feel like now though, I think that like, because we've had a lot of friends that are like, whatever you guys are doing, like we're in really good like synergy together. But I think it was like, it's like, it wasn't just, it was everything's kind of lining up. Whereas a lot of times it's like our spiritualness might be lining up or our bodies are lining up. And now we're kind of like hitting body being balance and business. And we're kind of like we're lining up in more areas than one. So like if you're connect really well with your partner one way and not in the other way, for me, I think that's why we're starting to move fast is because like our bodies are on point, our spirituality's on point. Like we're more aligned together as like similar. So it's like less, we always talk about this concept of push and pull. And right now it's less push and pull. Does that make sense?
It's just power.
It's just now we're like, it's not like I'm leading or you're leading. We're both leading. And I think that's when it gets kind of fun.
It gets incredibly fun. And like we're starting to recognize the talents that each one of us has and the abilities to do certain things in different environments. And the one that knows they don't have that talent there just backs up and lets the other one rock.
There you go.
And then we just changed. It's like two people on a keyboard at the same time. We're both playing music and all four of our hands are going, but we've gotten into a harmony now where it's not just, hey, get the fuck off the piano, let me play. Or you get off the piano, let me play. Even down to our parenting.
Yeah, I think
has become more aligned, and it's more of a harmony of us both playing the same song, but playing our notes on the keyboard.
It's cool. It's crazy too, because even if you're a working woman or you're not working, I think a lot of times men and women inside of a relationship, they get in competition, whether it's how you're raising your kids, it's how like the house is kept. It's like, hey, these are your roles and responsibilities and what you're good at. These are my roles and responsibilities of what I'm good at. Okay, here are things that I'm naturally good at. Okay, here's things that I'm naturally good at. And honestly, it's kind of something I want to write down with you so we're really clear on it, because I think we've naturally kind of like all of a sudden gotten into this flow where I'm like, let me talk to Bailey, please walk away, and you're like, okay, she's going to be better at this, whatever. And then I can lean into you and be like, hey, I'm really struggling with this area inside of my business. Can you come freaking handle this for me? So it's like, I think it's like understanding our roles and responsibilities to where we're not in competition.
Yeah.
Because like I said, couples think they're in competition because they're not clear on what the roles and the responsibilities are inside of the marriage.
We used to play a game like, I think we got really good at volleyball. The kids, volleyball with life, but that never had us like collaborating and creating together.
Yeah.
We were both creating independently, and then we'd gotten to a place we weren't even as competitive anymore. It was just, it's like, hey, do your shit, I'll do my shit, and I'll see you at home. And we kind of were living separate lives energetically in a way, which made it tough because come back and even on date night, it was like we would still reconnect and it would be great and trips would be great. And they were great when we'd feel it. And I think that's what I remember asking a question when we were in Mexico, and I was like, what would it take for us to be feeling this at home? And I remember you're like, I don't think it's possible because we're on vacation. I said, but what if it's possible? What if we could create a path that had us be able to be in a place? Oh, we got a potty cast going on. What's up, girls?
It's okay. She'll sneak in.
Come over here and say what's up on the podcast. This is what Charlie Ida calls it. She calls it a podcast. Come over here and say hi on the microphone for the podcast. Come here, mamita.
How was school? Hey, are you excited to move to Miami?
Talk on a microphone. Let's go.
Say hey, guys.
No.
Tell them why you're excited to move to Miami.
No.
Because we're going to have a boat.
No.
No.
Why are you excited? Wandering around the new
Excited
house?
to wander around the new house?
Yeah.
Oh, here comes Charlie. Charlie's coming to say hello. What's up, baby? Were you crying?
Yeah.
Oh,
You okay?
why are you crying?
You okay now?
You being sad?
No, say hi. Say, hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Say, I'm Charlie.
I'm Kylie.
Say, I'm moving to Miami.
I'm really DI.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. What's up, baby?
I'll do it again.
You want to do it again?
I want to go out the boy.
You want to go what?
Charlie, your eyes look blue today.
So pretty.
Your eyes look blue.
Why?
Why am I saying? You guys, I have 4 daughters and literally I had like 2 sets of kids. That one, my teenage daughters was challenging. And then I had like cute little Ruby. And then I have 2 more girls. And I swear, I'm like, either we did it really wrong or really right, because my second set of kids are literally like this. They're like twins, like their energy and everything. It's so crazy. And none of my kids got my brown eyes. None of my kids look like me. They're all tall with naturally blonde hair. So dominant genes. Okay, girls, you gotta hop off. We gotta finish. Gotta go get Heather. Go get Hetty.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, good job.
Good job, mama.
Good job.
Ready to go?
No, I got food.
So the crazy part about our world, people are like, why is there such a big gap between the teenagers and the toddlers? And I said, well, that was our figure out if we're going to be together years.
That was the build. That was the
businesses.
build of my business. Yeah. Like we after our first 2 kids, we didn't know if we were going to be married. We lost everything. We're literally like financially struggling. I'm like 9 months pregnant with my second kid. I'm like scared shitless. I'm like, well, I do hair, so I'm not sure how I'm going to provide for myself. That's literally the birth of Natural Beauty Row Hair Extensions, was because I was like, okay, either this is going to help my family, or if it doesn't, at least I have a trade that I can turn into a business and create an exit plan for myself.
Yep.
But you know what? We both started, I think we both started to connect when we both started working on ourselves. And it was like, it was almost like we got this level of respect for each other with how hard we were like hustling and grinding and building our business. But then we also made, during this time, this is why the birth of the show came, you guys, is because we decided to try to repair our marriage, was because we just didn't communicate or date. And we were raised in a culture where it's like people just didn't spend money on like going out. Like you would maybe go on a date when you were actually dating, but the minute you got married, it was like it wasn't important to take your wife out to a nice dinner, or it wasn't. You didn't find the value in spending money. So what we were like married, and we didn't even have kids living in Vegas, and we like didn't really date. Like we'd go to like Cheesecake Factory every once in a while or whatever, but it wasn't like we like got dressed cute and like went out and did all that.
We went on trips, we didn't do anything.
Yeah. So it was like, that's kind of how we rebuilt our marriage. We were like, okay, well, if we're going to stay in this marriage, like you said, we're going to go on a date every week. And you started like, that's when you started Wake Up Warrior, and you were like, have it all, date your wife. And it was just you and I trying to repair where we were at in life.
It was like repair and reconnect and rediscover like new levels of ourselves.
And it was fun even back then. I remember like when we first, although we had lost everything, when we decided to give up the Mormon religion and move to Gilbert, Arizona, that was almost like a reconnecting piece for us, because we were like, oh, we're starting over, you know? So
we moved from Gilbert to Ladera Ranch, California. We were in Gilbert for 2 years, Ladera Ranch, California for 2 years,
and then
Dana Point, Via Corsica for 2 years. Then the Strand in our first house for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then here in the Strand in this house for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's been like jumps across. And if you look at our life, every time, every level that we've jumped up has been a up level in our life, up level in our lifestyle, an upgrade to the way we think, an upgrade to the way we move, upgrade to the way we operate.
Right.
And each move has led to a new change and shift in us. That's why I see couples who have been in the same house, same neighborhood, same church.
How do you grow?
20 years. And they're like, I don't know what to do. I was like, fucking move.
Move, yeah.
Like move to a new place and get yourself in a new environment.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I've been pushing for the penthouse condo.
I'm not kidding. Oh my gosh, you guys, so the first house we went to, it is like right on this channel. It's like beautiful. It's on the intercoastal.
And beach, Golden Beach.
Golden Beach. It was beautiful. It's very different from this house, but just still beautiful. Anyways, we go look at this condo. I was like, no, I would never live in a condo. I'd never live in a condo. Well, I didn't know condos, they had like 12,000 square foot condos in the sky. I was like, this is like a house. This is not a condo. This is a house like in the sky. So it was cool. We entertained it for a little bit. We literally went to this high rise condo and like views for day, 360-degree views of like from Miami to Fort Lauderdale. I was like, whoa. But also I was like, we have two dogs and 4 kids. Like, can you imagine me in the morning? I'm like 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh, come on, getting the kids and the dogs in the elevator to go downstairs. I was like, that would be a shit show.
I had one vision when we were at that penthouse the penthouse was incredible. It was like taking our house as it is right now and putting it on top of a tower.
Yeah, it was nuts. Well, it wasn't
floor
quite
43,
this big.
44, 45. I mean, this is like 14,000 square feet. It's like 11,000 square feet for this penthouse.
The bathroom in that thing
it was insane. It was like a sauna. It was like a spa.
It was insane.
It had a wet sauna, a dry sauna.
Yeah.
2 different showers,
so
massive
insane.
closets.
And this huge, you're like, the views.
It was crazy.
Just, I mean, like, when our kids are older, sure. Right now we're in the thick of it, sir.
And the crazy part is we could get it.
We could. We were like, hey, if this house doesn't work out, well, this is our backup offer. But I literally am like, we'd have to get rid of the dogs. I'm like not coming downstairs every morning in the elevator half awake.
Anyways.
No.
Hug her last time.
Okay, sir.
We're sending them with the team after the podcast.
No, we're not doing that.
So we made an offer on the first house that we saw, and it was perfect. And it's amazing. He's going to have a ski boat in back. We got a new Paragon boat for the kids, 3 wave runners. It's right on the intercoastal. So we're like right on the water. It kind of looks a little Godfatherish. The house was built in 2002 and they gutted it and redid the whole inside.
Everything. So it's like very Spanish styles, like big columns. It's a little bit like older, but then the inside is completely redone.
It's in a neighborhood, has its own police force. It's a 2-mile stretch in Miami.
It's got a private beach.
Private beach.
That beach was awesome.
Beach was awesome.
The beach kind of sold me. Like I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, oh, it's like you're in the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's incredible. So outside of lots of sharks, which our girls are freaking out about and watching too many videos on YouTube about shark sightings, which Lelena did say that from the penthouse, you could see up on that tower, you can see the sharks when they're in the ocean.
Yeah, is that common there because the water's warm? Because I'm not going in.
You're going in.
I'm not going in.
You're going in for
I
sure.
don't even get in here. Like, and there's just dolphins.
Yeah. Well, we also got offices moving.
Yeah.
We have opportunities to just open up again today with our training facilities here that are incredible.
I know. See, the things that I'm saying, like if you're open, things will line up.
Yeah, they always do.
And I've kind of gotten to this place where I'm just, like I said, I'm saying yes more. And because I'm saying yes more, I'm not seeing the things that don't line up. I'm only focused on the things that do line up. So I'm like, holy shit, this is magical. because that's where my attention is.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have people that are focusing on what's happening to them and their poor life. And I'm like, well, you're not even open to seeing the possibilities or what's good in your life because you're just focused on that. So that's been another intentional thing, is like focusing on everything that is going right, focusing on everything. Because with the salon and everything and a lot of moves I made in my business, like I could have been like, oh, I'm so defeated. Why me? And I was like, this is a little sticky right now. And I have the capacity to handle it, but I know this is like exactly where I need to go. And so for the past like 3 weeks, I've been focusing on like the next chapter, where I need to go, who do I need to speak to, what's the next opportunity. And when I do that, that's a part of the reason that it's been running so smoothly, is being focused on what's working versus focused on what's not working.
How's that working with you with your identity shift?
My identity shift?
Yeah, it's a big shift. I mean, we shut the salon down. We're selling the salon. You shut down 80% of the academy.
I had my moment where it's like almost had a grievance a little bit. And I was like, oh, and like it was just like a little piece of me. I was like, yeah, I built this, and I built this little team, and this was like part of my identity. And I still remember the first picture I took in front of my mirror, like I'm officially a salon owner, but I'm not just a salon owner anymore. Like that doesn't even resonate with me anymore. I have the skill and the trade of doing hair, but I'm so much more than that. And so it's easy to let something go that it's no longer my identity. It was just like, yeah, there's a piece of me that's like sad for a minute, but then I was like, this isn't even me. Like yesterday I met the girls at the salon, and I helped them like divvy out hair and color and this and that. And their energy was a little bit like, and I was just like, freedom!
Yes.
And I was like, I shouldn't be this excited, but like, and so but I was just like, you guys are doing amazing. I just was like, I'm so happy for you guys to fly. I know this is the right move. I know it's sticky. I know it seems scary right now, but trust me that this is not just in the best interest for me. This is giving you guys opportunity now too.
And that's what it is. It's opportunity every time that we die to who we are right now, and we give ourselves a chance to rise to be something more. And people are terrified of this. I'm around people every day that are terrified to do it. Yet the fun part is the moves that we've made in the last 2 months have sparked this entire tidal wave of moves by people around us. People just saying, oh my God, there they go again. And it's encouraging them to make the same moves. Maybe even listen to this, you're like, man, there's a lot of shit that we should be pivoting on. There's a lot of things that we should be moving on. There's decisions that you should have made a long time ago that you're not making them. And there's a moment in time where everybody that gets to a place of too much pain and they have to stay in that place, or they have to make a new decision because the pain is too great, or they move into a place where the pursuit of deeper levels of prosperity and purpose become the call. And for us, it wasn't even a game of pain so much as it was a game of pursuit of something more. And I think the pain comes from the fact that you could pursue something more, but you continue to stay stuck. And that's where the greatest pain comes. It's not for this pain of, man, everything's fucking shitty. It's everything's great, and yet I know it could be greater. It's,
it's crazy too. It's like everybody I think has this ability to like see them almost like their future version of them. They like see it. There's a piece of them that knows it. They're like, that's me. But you're not there yet. You have to understand it's so important to recognize this future piece of you and build yourself to get there. And so it's hard for people to be in that place because they're like, okay, well, I'm not there yet. I don't possess the skills. I can't do this. And so there's a lot of limiting beliefs and self-doubt. And it's like, well, yes, you have to do the work required to become this person. But when you're shown this person, it's hard to deny that. How can you not do the work when you know who you're meant to become? And so I think a lot of people stay stuck and they play small because they doubt their natural knowing of who they can become. So one of the things that Garrett and I have been working on recently, and maybe you could share your mantra on this if you want to, but like, it's like speaking to the future version of you. Like you're literally just like, you're going to be, on stages of 100, thousands. You're going to be like whatever it is that you see yourself, you start speaking that to yourself now. Like you did one where you're like, I'm a super yacht owner, I'm a jet owner. It's not about the things. It's like you're speaking to yourself about the person that you have a glimpse of that you already know you are. So I think that people, they don't do the work, but more importantly, they don't accept this natural knowing of who they are.
And that shit happened. One of my coaches, Ben Newman, had gotten me to write some mantras about, he said, we're going to pull the future you into the present you, and we're going to start being like we're that man now.
Act like that person now.
And so I pulled up and I created a series of I am statements, 10 of them, like 10 commandments for each domain of my life. Body, being, balance in marriage, balance in kids, and business and money. And they're like real intense. I'll let you listen to one of them real quick. It was crazy when I made these.
I don't know why every time, if you're older like us, you'll remember like Saturday Night Live, the guy that would look in the mirror like, you're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you.
Yes.
It's like, it sounds cheesy, but it's being more specific. Is like, who is this person in the future? What have they done? What do they look like? It could be something with your body. Like, I will be 250. I won't be 250. But whatever it is, you start talking about that. But then you have to do the work to become that person.
So I'll give you an example of it. I'll share the business one. The business one is so intense that I can't listen to it at night because I get too fired up.
Lives, companies like
Here it is.
and they will desire to be a unified father to the earth,
Here it comes.
to my children until the day I die and beyond.
This is just a business.
Business. I am a billionaire and impact hundreds of millions of people's lives with the companies I hold in my empire. I am free financially and make, keep, and grow my wealth at a speed that defies the logic of this physical world. I am partners with God in all my money games and use the resources He has charged me with to wage the wars He is interested in winning. I am networked and connected with the most powerful men in the world, and they trust me with their money, their lives, and the darkness within them. I am surrounded by mighty warriors, lords, and teams to grow the empire even when I'm sleeping. I am the standard for transformation work, and Warrior has become the standard for all global coaching, training, and facilitation of transformation and breakthrough. I am standing shoulder to shoulder with 10 million men and women who live and lead the world the Warrior's way, impacting 1 billion people annually. I am the catalyst for the unification of God and business, and I will go down in history for starting the most impactful revival we've seen since the apostles who walked the earth with Christ. I am a jet owner of Gulfstream G800, fly myself and my companies, my family, my clients and partners around the world. I am a super yacht owner and travel the world in my warship and host global shifting meetings with the most powerful men on the planet.
Woo!
So I got one of those for each.
I get goosebumps. I'm like, yeah.
I get goosebumps.
But it's like you can like see it, huh?
Well, what's crazy is I wrote those down about the same time we decided to sell the house. And then I recorded them and then have my team put some music to each category, body being balanced. And every morning I listen to this when I wake up, right when I first wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you time when I started writing that, listening to this every single morning and the decisions we were making, everything that I have spoken into reality, the doors have now opened up in every single domain. And it's like I am now speaking from who I am.
Well, you can speak to that guy, even though you haven't done the work, because you know that's the guy.
Well,
you know
it's different.
Guy.
It's like pulling me into me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like always been me, but it's like me now.
Mm.
Like, it's like knowing yourself.
Mm.
But like you've always known.
Mm-hmm.
There's just like a certainty that's opened up. And the crazy part is it's like God and me, like talking to that truth.
Mm-hmm.
So every morning it's like coming from me to me, almost like reminding me, hey, this is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And the statements is crazy. I wrote all these statements to channel them in like 30 minutes. All of them, from body to being to balance of business, all of them. There's some that I'll go in and tweak and twist and move it around a little bit, but I'd heard people do this, but I had never done it. And I decided to do it. And so it's like so many things happening at once and watching just so many stories about me that just weren't true. And as I keep knocking these down, my frame just keeps opening and opening and opening. And the beauty is it's not about having anything. That's a byproduct of this being of things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a level of being in me that
you see yourself.
Yeah. And the greatest part of it is seeing me for the first time I could see you.
Mm. Mm.
And he used to say that all the time, like, why can't you just see me. And I couldn't see you because I couldn't see myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so my own walls and my own triggers and my own blocks and my own pain and my own scars from so much trauma,
Mm-hmm.
from my childhood, from the abuse from my uncle, to just losing in business so big, just so much distrust, which is wild because I've built everything we have on this foundation that has been not true for me of what I am totally.
I love seeing you finally seeing this version of you, because I feel like it's something that not just me, but so many other people have seen in you. And so for me as your wife, when I felt like you weren't seeing yourself, it was just like I didn't know how to help you.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to prop you up. I didn't know how to praise you. It was like any words that I did give you, if you don't see yourself, then you're not going to hear the words that I'm giving you.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the biggest things we recently came to realize is you were like, I need more from you. And I'm thinking like, I really am trying. Like, sure, I can text you, but I really am trying to be here and support you and do all these things. And I kind of got to this realization. I'm like, maybe he doesn't know how powerful he is. And I can't unlock you that way. But recently, whatever you've done, it's like this slowly chipping away to where all of a sudden I'm like, oh, he sees how powerful he is. And it's not just like the lifting of the weights and that. I think it's like you're finally seeing who you are, but in the future version as well. And you're always playing in like the old version of you. Does that make sense?
I think in a lot of ways too, I was, even as much as I've done, I can never enjoy what I've done because there was a sense of incompleteness.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what's that book?
In my heart, it was just like an incompleteness. So like no matter how big it got, there was still this feeling of,
you got to do more.
I had to do more. And there's a lot of reasons for it. And a lot of the work that we've been doing in the past couple months has allowed me to see how so much of my trauma from my childhood created stories.
Mm-hmm.
And as these stories are fading and melting and breaking and burning, there's like this truth that's coming up underneath the surface of all of it that is, it's interesting. It's a calming energy. It's not a angry energy. It's not a beat anyone energy. It's not a competitive energy. It's like just a certainty. It's a knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have knowing and I've had knowing, but there's a level of knowing coming into my life now that is immovable. And it's allowed me to be in a place even with you where you may have your moment or you're saying things and I'm immovable in whatever's happening. I'm just immovable. I'm like, can hear whatever's going on, but I don't. And I have my slip-ups, but it's like there's a level of just groundedness.
It's a level
for me.
of consciousness.
And one of the messages God had given me was, listen, stop grounding in your wife, stop grounding in your team, stop grounding in everyone else, stop grounding in anything else, just ground in me. And if you're ground in me and ground in yourself,
then nobody can move your foundation.
Then nobody can move me. And now you actually become more attractive. You become more powerful.
Right.
You become more certain. You have more clarity, and just the moves in the way I'm making right now with our companies and the moves quick, fast we're making them. Like even all my teams, everyone around me is saying the same thing. Like everyone's leaned in, going, "Okay, he's in it. He got it.
Yeah.
Now we can trust him to go to war. We can trust him to go." And I remember one of my mentors, Keith, the real rich Keith Cunningham. I remember sitting in a boardroom with him one day, and he was like, sitting there and was like, "Hey, listen," I was chirping in one of the board meetings, and he said, "Garrett," he said, "we need a little less warrior and a little more general right now." Saying nobody's questioning whether you can come fuck shit up.
Yeah.
He's like, "We need a little more strategic thought out of your brain right now."
Yeah.
And I remember sitting and listening to him, and I had a knowing of what he was saying, but I didn't have an experience of it. This was like 5 years ago.
What kind of guys are you going to teach to do the same thing? Because you have all these guys, I'm not going to name any on the show, that just, they've got to be strategic with their strikes. Yeah. Like nobody's doubting that you're super alpha and super powerful, and that's great, but that doesn't necessarily demonstrate all strengths. Like for you to be unmovable, that can bring this out strategically, is way more powerful than always going to war.
Yep.
Always going to war it's just gonna hurt you more than anything else.
Well, it's going to war in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going
Being
to war
strategic.
as a general versus going to war as a soldier.
Yeah.
You know,
But it took you, there's a lot of men that you're going to probably help do this. And that's how you're going to create such a powerful army inside of warriors. Like you're going out, you're now the general and you're going to go hunt out these warriors.
Yep.
And you're going to teach them this superpower.
Yep. It's already happening.
And I'll be your sidekick to just
you'll be
put
my
them in their
side
place
clothes.
a little bit.
You're my side clothes. People have side chicks. I got a side closer.
I'm the side closer.
The side seducing closer who closes deals down with me. Well, listen, you got me to cry. Thank you. Lots of times.
Mm-hmm.
I got you to cry lots of times, and we both cried on our own lots of times. And now here we are. Like we're in a place that it's just undeniable. We
just got to stay in the pocket.
And we're going to.
That's why things are going to get a little spicy in the next. What took us, I told Garrett, I said, what took us 10 years to create is we're going to
do in 2.
No, we're going to do double that in 5.
It'll be 10x.
10x that in 5.
10x that in 5.
Could be sooner. It could be sooner though, because it's like when every time I'm like, oh, this will be our house, when our kids are in high school, and then 2 years later, I was like, well, shit, that happened in 2 years.
We're moving to Miami.
Yeah. So
well, I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for being my partner.
You're welcome.
Thank you for doing this show.
Thanks for being my. Thank you for being my warlord.
That's right. That's how I like it. That's how I call it. I'm your warlord.
I think I'm
the warlord.
Not
You're
to
the
say that
witch.
you weren't patient with me over the years, but it's almost like I saw you so intensely that I was just like, I'm just gonna hang on. Not to say I didn't have to work on myself, but I was like, he's gonna make the fucking turn. I invested too much time into this asshole. He's got to make the fucking turn. I'm too invested.
That was a benefit. If we'd been just dating, I probably wouldn't have the patience.
Yeah, I was like, I've invested way too much. And you're probably the same with me. It's like when you get to this place in your relationship where you're like, I have invested so much time and energy into this. We're making the fucking turn.
The idea of starting over with anybody is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So thank you for being you.
I actually even physically am more attracted to you when you're in this energy. It's crazy. It's like, I just like, there's this connection, there's this openness, and it happens for both men and women. And it's like, they walk into the room and you're like, you can literally like feel their presence. And you're just like, it's just very sexy. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like you're trying to show off your muscles, which I like muscles. Who knew? I was like, I don't care if you have muscles, and then you got muscles. And I was like, turns out I like muscles. But that being said, it's your certainty in knowing yourself that is sexy. And that you do come across like, you can't shake me. Like I'm too grounded. And so when you're in that space, that's when I notice is weird. It kind of like wavers in and out. I'm sure like mine does, but I can always tell when you're in a really good place with yourself because I'm physically more attracted to you. And
it physically has shown.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Date Your Wife podcast. We've been doing this for quite a while. We're super consistent with the teams now and producing content for you guys every single week. We do have guests on this show, but if you are hearing anything out of the show, share it. Sharing is caring, because honestly, that's how you're going to create a movement. That's how you're going to create impact. And that's how why we're gonna keep doing this show.
Yeah, we invest quite a bit of money every month to make this happen for you. So if you have other couples or spouses that you'd like to hear some of these episodes, one of the beauty about the way that we run this show is that we are not licensed marriage therapists. We're not pretending we have all the answers. What we are doing is probably the most sacred offering here online, which is we're offering the truth. Unfiltered, unbridled. We're just going to be where we're at, and we're going to tell you where that is. And I think one of the funnest parts for us has been watching people who have been watching this happen for years, who are cheering on for us now, celebrating the victory of where we've gotten as a couple, because they were there for 6 to 7 to 8 years watching some of the original shows, some of the way that we showed up with each other, and just the work that we've done to get to this place. And the good news is you can do the same. We have a couple of really powerful outlets for the guys that are listening to the show. We have warriormensbiblestudy.com. It's a great place to start. Whether you're a Christian or not, it's an amazing 2-hour call. It happens every week for free. And we get together, we read the Bible in a totally different way. We study the Bible. We use a methodology that we've created over here to use Bible stacking, which you can check out more of that by going to warriormensbiblestudy.com. Join us every week for free or listen to the replays. And then on top of this also, we have our Warrior Launch Experience, which our Warrior Launch Experience is kind of the baseline groundwork of learning the Warrior's Way system. which is what Danielle and I have used as an ideology for being able to build our lives and continue to push our lives to other levels. You can check that out at warriorlaunch.com.
I guess my only pitch is right now I created natural beauty real hair extensions. So if you want more information about that, you can hit up my blog at Danielle K. White. I offer education and I have a hairline, a phenomenal hairline called Isla. I've been behind the chair for over 20 years and created this product off of my own struggles in my hair. So if you're listening to this and you're like, what is it? Ask your artist about NBR hair extensions paired specifically with Isla hand-tied hair. But if you want just more information about me, check out my blog at daniellekWhite.com.
Thank you so much for being here. We look forward to having you next week. We might have a guest. I don't know. We got a whole bunch of guests lined up for the next couple months before we move from California. They're all flying in. So almost every single one of our guests that are flying in from different states to be here. Some big names coming. We're excited for you to hear from them. And we're excited to put them on the truth seat and see what kind of truth we can get out of these couples they don't normally share with their audiences and with their families and with their people. But so far, we've been 100% out of 100% here with couples sharing stuff they don't ever share with anybody live here on the show. We're now becoming known as the show that exposes the truth. And nothing funner than hearing from people who are powerful influencers online and powerful in the business world who we look up to and know also that they are human and you are not so different from them as you think.
Right.
That means your marriage does have a chance to be saved, has a chance to be revived, has a chance to be liberated and taken to a whole nother level. So share the show up. Have a great rest of your week. We'll look forward to seeing you next week here on the Date Your Wife podcast.
Bye.